You know those little pictures you use every day? The ones that fill up your messages? Well, they seem pretty simple, right? Just fun little icons. But what if I told you that behind every single emoji you send, there's this hidden story of power, money, and some serious control? Yeah, really. So let's get into it.
So our story actually starts somewhere you'd probably never expect. Not in Silicon Valley, but in a courtroom, in Canada, of all places. Just last year, in 2023, a judge was looking at this pretty big contract dispute, and the whole thing, the entire case, came down to one single character sent in a text, the thumbs up emoji.
And what the judge decided was, honestly, a bombshell. He ruled that the thumbs up emoji was legally binding, like it was the same as an actual signature on a dotted line. The farmer who sent it, he suddenly owed over $82,000. This was way more than just some funny headline. It was a huge signal that something really fundamental has shifted in how we communicate.
So that brings us to the big question we're going to tackle here. How on earth did we get to this point, right? How did these tiny little digital pictures get so powerful they can actually hold up in a court of law? Well, to figure that out, we've got to go back, way back.
Okay, so let's get into the origin story. And believe it or not, right off the bat, we run into a controversy. Because it turns out where emojis actually came from is a surprisingly hot debate. You've got two different creators, and both of them claim they invented it first.
But first, we need to get one thing straight, a really crucial distinction. We are not talking about emoticons. You know, those old school faces you'd make with a colon and a parentheses, the classic smiley face? Emojis are a totally different beast. They're actual standalone images. They're picture characters that are literally coded right into the system.
Now, the story that most people have probably heard is about a guy named Shigetaka Kurita. He was a designer for a Japanese telecom company, and back in 1999, he created the very first set of 176 little pixel art emojis. But, get this, 2 years before that, in 1997, a French designer, Nicolas Loufrani, was already building this whole digital library of colorful, super expressive icons that he called smileys.
And here's the thing, their goals were totally different. Kurita's designs were really practical. See, early mobile phones had strict character limits, so he made these simple pixelated icons for stuff like weather and traffic to save space. Loufrani, though, he had this grander vision. He was trying to build a brand new universal language based on emotion, using these colorful, much more detailed icons. And it's funny, if you look at the emojis on your phone right now, you can totally see the DNA of both of them in there.
So the question is, who took these two competing ideas and mashed them together to create the standard keyboard that we all have on our phones? Well, this is where the story takes a really interesting turn. Because it turns out that our entire digital language is basically controlled by this small and very, very powerful group of gatekeepers. Let me introduce you to the Unicode Consortium. You've probably never heard of them, but they are a huge deal. This is the nonprofit that standardizes all text on all computers for literally every language in the world. Their whole job is to make sure that, say, a letter A on your iPhone looks exactly like a letter A on a Windows PC. And in 2010, they officially decided to take on emojis, pulling them into this universal system.
So who exactly is the Unicode Consortium? Well, all the big decisions are made by what's called the Unicode Technical Committee. And the members with full voting rights, yeah, it's pretty much a who's who of big tech. We're talking Apple, Google, Meta, Microsoft. They all pay for a seat at this table, which gives them a direct vote on which little pictures become a permanent part of our global language.
Now, in theory, you or I could submit a proposal for a new emoji. Anyone can, but it's a really long and kind of bureaucratic process. They judge your idea based on all these factors, like how often they think people will use it, or if it fills a real gap in the keyboard, and only then does it go to that powerful committee for an actual vote.
And believe me, that corporate influence is very real. Take this for example. Back in 2016, a rifle emoji was actually approved as a candidate for the new set. But according to people who were in the room, Apple basically stepped in and argued against it. And just like that, it was removed. I mean, that's a perfect example of one company's values directly shaping the keyboard for literally billions of users. But it's not all a top-down thing. It's not just the big companies calling the shots. Public campaigns have proven that pressure from the ground up can actually work. Think about the dumpling emoji, or the hijab emoji, or the one representing a period. All of those exist because of these incredibly passionate, really well-organized campaigns from regular people who made a strong enough case to the consortium.
So you've got this constant push and pull, right, between corporate control on one side and public demand on the other.
And what that means is that the emoji keyboard isn't just a static thing. No way. It's a living, breathing language that is constantly evolving to reflect our culture as it changes.
And you can see this so clearly when you look at the push for better representation. For years, people criticized the lack of diversity. Then, in 2015, we finally got skin tone modifiers. In 2016, after more campaigns for gender balance, a whole set of professional women emojis were added. And by 2019, gender-neutral options became a standard feature. Slowly but surely, the keyboard is actually starting to look a little more like the people who use it.
And what's wild is that you can actually watch this evolution happen in the data. So what you're looking at here is from Bilibili, which is this massive social platform in China. Now check out the graph. See how the use of those older style emoticons, they're called Emoji, it just hits a peak right around 2016. And after that, it's in a total freefall.
Okay, and this right here shows you the other side of that coin perfectly. As the cow emoji just plummeted, look what happened with our modern emojis. You can see it right there in the graph. Their usage just absolutely skyrockets, especially after 2020. This isn't just some passing trend. It's a full-on evolutionary replacement. We are literally watching one form of digital language die out while another one completely takes over.
But it's not just the images themselves that are changing, it's how we're using them. This chart is absolutely fascinating. Okay, look at that first bar for Kamoji. You can see that 70% of the time, they're used to express a general emotion. Now look at the middle bar for modern emojis. That number plummets down to just 30%. So what does that tell us? It tells us that emojis are evolving. They're moving away from just being about simple feelings and are now used to communicate much more specific, culturally relevant ideas.
So when you put it all together, you've got this contested history, you've got these corporate gatekeepers, this incredibly rapid evolution. It all starts to point to a much, much bigger question. Who actually gets to shape our digital world? You know, Mark Davis, he's one of the co-founders of the Unicode Consortium, and he puts it into perspective really well. He basically says, look, emojis get all the headlines and all the attention, but Unicode's real goal is so much bigger. It's about making sure that every single language in the world, from Chinese to Cherokee, can be typed on any device. Emojis are just one tiny, though yeah, very visible, piece of that puzzle.
And this brings us to a really crucial point. The stakes here are incredibly high. Because according to Unicode's own official policy, once a character is coded into the system, it can never be removed. Ever. Just think about that. It means every decision they make today is permanent. We're building this global, visual language one brick at a time, and you can't ever take those bricks back out.
Which leaves us with one last, really important question to think about. As this new language gets more and more powerful, powerful enough to stand in for a legal signature, who do you think should be in that room where all the decisions are made? Who really deserves a seat at the table to vote on the future of how we all communicate?